So on my last trip to Verona, I only brought these two cameras. The trusty old Nikon F3 to take pictures and the human dashcam, aka the Dji Osmo Nano, to capture video content and behind the scenes footage of my shots. And let me tell you, with this combo, I think I finally found the cheat code for creating content, while also being able to enjoy the moments of your travel to their fullest. Wow. Let's face it, as a creator you always have to choose between enjoying the moment to its fullest or capturing the moment in the best way possible so the people watching your video can enjoy the moment to its fullest. And I think pairing the Dji Osmo Nano with your favorite stills photography camera on your travels is the perfect solution for this exact problem. What I love the most about this setup is the lightweight and the portability. Finally, I found the perfect mix between focusing on my photography without feeling distracted by the fact that I also want to capture video for my YouTube channel. The Dji Osmo Nano really is the perfect travel video camera for every content creator that wants to focus on photography first, but also wants to capture video content and behind the scenes footage as context to the pictures. Literally, all I did for this trip was carrying the Dji Osmo Nano with the magnetic pendant on my chest. And whenever I saw a moment I wanted to photograph, I simply pressed the record button on the Nano itself. And then I was able to fully focus on taking a picture while also knowing that I'm capturing the perfect behind the scenes footage at the same time. The Dji Osmo Nano is so tiny and unobtrusive that you don't draw any attention onto yourself, so you can really enjoy the moments of your travels to the fullest. On this trip, I didn't experience any neck pain, and I didn't feel overwhelmed by carrying two heavy cameras around all the time. The best part about it is that you can pair your Dji Osmo Nano with any stills camera you enjoy, even if your stills camera might lean onto the heavier side. Your travel kit will always be lightweight and comfortable, and in my opinion, this is the most important factor to really enjoy your travels to the fullest. On this trip, we took a train from Munich to Verona, which was way more convenient than our last city trips where we took a Flixbus, and believe it or not, the train ticket was even cheaper than taking the bus, so it really was a no-brainer. We went to Verona during the Christmas holidays, so we first drove through the snowy mountains of southern Germany. But this time we got really lucky and we had beautiful, warm and sunny weather in Italy during our entire trip. Once we arrived at the Verona train station, we quickly realized that on the Christmas holidays, the buses in Verona are not allowed to drive. So our first task for the day was taking a 40-minute walk with our heavy luggage to our hotel, which sadly was located pretty far away from the center of Verona. Once we arrived at the hotel, we were too tired to walk back to the center, so we decided to just go to a nearby restaurant and then go sleep early so we could catch the early and only bus on the next day that brought us to Piazza Bra, where we started our first day of the trip. On the way to the bus station, I just took my first pictures of the trip just to warm up and get into the group. I stumbled upon many pretty looking scenes, but as you can see, sadly, my Nikon F3 had some serious light leak issues, which affected almost 50% of my shots of this trip. But I decided to include every single shot that I took on this trip to really showcase the reality of shooting film, especially if you're shooting film during your travels. When I first got my scans back, I was really disappointed and I almost didn't want to create this video. But after revisiting my shots a few months later, I realized that many of the shots turned out quite nice. So my advice to every photographer out there is to revisit their own work from time to time with a fresh perspective, which will make you feel more happy and proud about your own work. Since then, I also successfully solved the light leak problems of my Nikon F3, which I also made a whole video about it, which you can see in the upper right corner in the info box if you're interested.
Aspettiamo qua.
While walking around the Christmas market, I stumbled upon my first interesting looking scene, where a purple decorated bike was standing next to this old gentleman, whose hair was nicely illuminated by the morning sunlight. So I went ahead and grabbed the shot. This shot is probably my favorite in terms of how the light leak affected the image, because it separated the two subjects in an interesting way. So I'm quite happy with this shot. After the first shot, we decided it was time for the first snack break, and we got ourselves some delicious crepes and some delicious focaccia bread. After our snack break, we went on and I wanted to capture the busy street in front of the arena, because it was crazy to see how quickly the streets filled up with people at around 10 AM already. I also really enjoyed the scene here with these massive balloons. I really liked the shot. It has some interesting shadows and lighting, and it captured the vibe there beautifully. The only thing I'm regretting here is not taking more alternative shots. The scene had so much to offer, and I could easily use up 5 or 6 more shots of my roll on this scene alone. Probably the biggest reason for me not taking more shots was just simply because I was a bit too nervous, but it got better eventually during the trip when I took more and more street pictures. So on my next trip, I'm really trying to improve on that. After some walking, we came across this place with a fountain, and I spotted a scene where a lady was walking her dog and wearing a red jacket. I'm not sure what happened there, but the black bar on the right kinda ruins this shot for me. The red light leaks, on the other hand, kinda match the jacket of the lady, so it's still alright I guess, but it could have been better too. What I really love about Verona was the beautiful looking architecture, and I captured exactly that. And I also tried to include some small human elements here and there. I was really hyped about this shot while taking it, but here once again this weird black bar ruined the shot. Let me know in the comments below if you know what might have caused these problems. It luckily only happened on these 2 shots though. Then I saw this lady dressed in fur enjoying her coffee, and the light was almost like a spotlight on her, which made me want to take this picture. And even though the composition is pretty messy, I think because of her interesting outfit and the light only hitting her, the shot still works for me, and I really like the result. Here I once again enjoyed the architecture, but it's really not a nice shot. I should have framed it better, but as I said in the beginning, I'm showing you guys every picture that I took on this trip. And then it was already time to reload my Nikon F3. Here I liked the look of the first of the roll burn, and I loved seeing these trees next to the pretty houses. Knowing it was probably a burnt shot, I went ahead and took another version of this shot. In this scene I liked the mixture of the lighting, the interesting inside of the carpet shop, and I wanted to have a human element as a reflection to give the scene a touch of life. And the waiting paid off. I loved that this guy was wearing a red scarf which fitted the red of the carpets and the berries perfectly. While walking over this bridge, I found an interesting composition that let me play with scale. Just 2 people sitting in a distance next to the river. I love the leading lines and the reflection in the water, and also how tiny the human element is in this scene while still being the main subject.
like Assassin's Creed.
I gotta say, I really love the look of Verona. Walking around the streets really reminded me of the early Assassin's Creed games that played in Italy. In this picture, I love how the clouds almost look like smoke coming out of the tower, which makes it seem like a big chimney. In those pictures, I captured this restaurant, which had the kitchen located one building next to the place where they served their customers, and that's why the waiters had to walk down the streets to serve drinks and food. And what would an Italy trip be without having some delicious pizza, right? I can highly recommend this place. It's a 5-minute walk from Piazza Bra called Berbere Pizzeria. You only pay 10 euros even in this touristy spot. So if you're ever in Verona, this is a great spot for some delicious pizza. After the pizza, it was of course time for some cappuccino and some sweets for dessert. And once again, I was surprised to only pay €4.50 for 2 coffees and 3 handmade sweets. So great. I didn't expect such reasonable prices. And that was already the end of our first day. We just went to the bus station and headed to our hotel. The next morning, I was motivated to go out even earlier to capture the sunrise and really capture some pictures with the beautiful morning sunlight. And I was also curious to see how the streets will look when they are completely empty without any tourists around. And I gotta say, this shot next to the river with this golden light turned out beautiful. It is definitely worth it to get up early and catch those beautiful scenes while everyone else is still asleep. I'm in love with this shot, the color palette, the beautiful light and shadows of this building and the cool looking silhouette came together perfectly. If you compare this image with the video of how it looked in real life, really shows how powerful photography can be. And here you can see the empty streets. It gives off a completely different vibe and also creates the opportunity to take pictures that wouldn't be possible with lots of people around. I loved how the sun created this big beam of light where people were passing by. I decided to wait there and use the fishing method again, but sadly my Nikon F3 had other plans for me. It didn't fire off and I first thought my batteries were empty. Perfectly prepared, I of course brought extra spare batteries with me, but guess who left them at the hotel?
Batteries, Pam.
So we made our way to some supermarkets in hope of finding some LR44 batteries.
I don't have it.
We couldn't find the right batteries, but once the sun came out more and the temperature went up, my Nikon decided to work again. I guess it was just a temperature issue, so I was quite happy not having to go back to our hotel. This scene was quite funny. I thought it was an hilarious way to take a group picture with your big camera. But apparently it worked, so why not? Let me tell you, I was so excited for this shot, but sadly the light leaks ruined it completely for me. Not even cropping could fix that. Very sad. And then we decided to go inside the arena, which gave me the opportunity to take some pictures with a different perspective. I love this view over the roofs of Verona and the landscapes in the background. Here I captured this blink of an eye moment of this guy just waking up and having a quick look outside. Once I took it, the moment was over. So I was happy to capture it in time and add some human element to this rooftop scene. The light leak looks interesting. I would have preferred not having it in this shot though, but at least it's not covering the guy, so it's fine.
Scared of heights.
And would you look at that, I couldn't get a better place to reload my Nikon F3 than this. I really enjoyed this moment. Then I came across the scene with this cool beam of light and tried some fishing again. But I should have changed the angle a bit to create something better. I still like the shot overall though. I really wish there wasn't a light leak in this picture. I was so in love with the scene. The wall with the curved balconies and the plant, in contrast to the guy in the background taking a selfie, which looked like he was taking a selfie of this pretty wall, would have been one of my favorite shots of this trip. But well, that's what I'm getting for loving film photography. It is what it is. Now this scene made me really happy. I spotted those two guys practicing parkour earlier at a small park, but I didn't take a picture, and I was kinda regretting it. But then after walking up to the viewing platform again, those same two guys were there as well, giving me the opportunity to capture this cool shot. I love the silhouette shot of the guy jumping through the air and the shadows in the background. It blends in together perfectly. Right after the parkour shot, I got one of my favorite pictures of this trip. A man and a woman sitting on this bench and enjoying the view of Verona. Just a really cozy and kind of romantic picture, which for me really perfectly captures the vibe of this city. Right at the viewing platform there was this Olympic sign and I tried to come up with some interesting shots. Some are kind of cool, but nothing outstanding in my opinion. Reviewing the POV footage of my Nano really made me realize how many potentially great shots I missed taking there. It was pretty interesting to see the difference between what was there to capture and what I was able to capture in the end. It really showcased the endless possibilities of street photography if you are quick enough and skilled enough, and also if you are looking for the right scenes that happen in front of you. I still had a lot of fun practicing on my street photography skills on this trip, especially playing it on hard mode with shooting film and focusing manually. We then just waited for the sun to set and enjoyed the view. While being up there, it got colder again and my camera once again stopped working. But it was fine, because I got the shots that I wanted up there. While walking down, I captured my favorite landscape picture of this trip. I love how the bushes in the foreground create a nice frame for the scene, and the cityscape with the mountains in the far back just looks beautiful. And then I got lucky one more time and captured this old gentleman walking past this bar, where everyone had a great time together, being in their own moments while the man walking past creates this opposite feeling of loneliness passing by. I shot this one with a shutter speed of 1/30th of a second with an aperture of 1.8, so I'm quite happy how sharp this shot turned out. It is really one of my favorite street shots of this trip. On our last morning on the way back to the train station, we came across this Ferrari seller, which gave me the perfect opportunity to take some nice looking pictures in this morning sunlight. It reminded me of my first YouTube video where I also took some pictures of a Ferrari in Paris, also during the Christmas holidays. So I was quite happy to see this. And just like that, we are already at the end of this video again. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, because there are more videos like this coming up in the future for you guys. And with that being said, see you in the next one. Bye.